Good day everyone, I am Jamaica de LARA and we are of course the Team de LARA. And in this video, we're going to talk about the BSP short-term monetary instruments. And on the next slide, we have here the overview of the topic that will be discussed in this presentation. So the first one is the Overnight Reverse Repurchase Agreement, BSP Securities, Term Deposit Facility, Standing Liquidity Facility, Rediscounting, Overdraft Credit Line, and the Emergency Loan. So the primary instrument is the Overnight Reverse Repurchase Agreement, which refers to the Bangko Central's monetary instrument where the BSP sells government securities with a commitment to buy them back at a later date. Sa madaling salita, ang repurchase transaction, ito yung pagbebenta ng BSP ng government securities sa mga counterparties, which are financial institutions, usually banks. At may commitment ang BSP na bibilhin ulit ang government securities na ito at a specified future date and at a predetermined rate. And repo rate ang tawag sa interest rate ng RRP. At dahil dito ay nagkakaroon ng contractionary effect sa liquidity management. And contrary-wise, ang reverse repurchase transaction naman ay ang short-term agreement to purchase securities in order to sell them back at a slightly higher price. So, ang repo at ang reverse repo ay ginagamit for short-term borrowing and lending. Kadalasan, one day lang or overnight, kaya siya tinawag na Overnight Reverse Repurchase Agreement. And ang BSP ay ginagamit ang reverse repo para mag-add ng money sa money supply via open market operations. At dahil dito, nagkakaroon ng expansionary effect sa liquidity management. And sa next slide ay naglagay ako ng illustration para mas maintindihan natin kung paano nga ba nag-work ang Overnight Reverse Repurchase Agreement. So, sa first image, which is yung sa day 1, makikita natin na yung central bank ay nagbebenta ng government securities sa commercial bank. And in exchange ay nagbayad ang commercial bank ng kanyang surplus cash sa central bank. At dahil nga tenor ay overnight lang, sa day 2 ay binili ulit ng central bank yung government securities gamit yung ibinayad sa kanya ng commercial bank plus yung reverse repo interest o yung tinatawag na repo rate. So, ayun, sana mas maintindihan natin kung paano nga ba yung concept or kung paano nga ba nag-work yung Overnight Reverse Repurchase Agreement. And dito naman sa next slide is in-include ko yung table ng features of the Overnight Reverse Repurchase Facility. So, para sa frequency of operations, daily or 5 days a week, and yung maturity, tulad nga na sabi ko kanina, ay overnight lang. Yung auction type is fixed rate and full allotment, and yung auction size ay based or depende sa BSP liquidity forecast. And yung announcement ng auction size is weekly. The auction time is 5 p.m. open. So the participants can start submitting bids at 4:30 p.m. And yung auction time window ay 30 minutes. Yung eligible counterparties ay yung mga banks and non-banks with quasi-banking function. And yung type of allocation is pro-rate based on bid size. And yung minimum bid amount ay 10 million. And yung maximum bid amount is yung 20% ng auction size, which is yung base nga sa BSP liquidity forecast. And yung maximum number of bids ay 1. And yung announcement of results or settlements is same day lang. So, therefore, ginagawa ito ng BSP para makontrol ang inflation at money supply sa bansa. And another instrument to be tackled in this video is the BSP securities, which defined as the monetary instruments issued by the BSP for its monetary policy implementation and liquidity management operations to steer short-term market interest rates toward the policy rate and influence liquidity conditions in the financial system. And the type of securities that the BSP will issue are both BSP bills and BSP bonds. Also, yung BSP initially offer BSP bills in view of the prevailing market preference for shorter tenors. At kapag sinabi nating tenors, ito yung maturity na tinatawag natin. So, sa madaling salita, ang BSP bills ay pang short term at ang BSP bonds ay pang long term. And alam nyo ba na noon, under the Republic Act No. 7653, ang BSP ay maaari lamang mag-issue ng kanyang own debt securities during exceptional times, kapag may extraordinary movement lang sa price levels. Pero ngayon, under the Republic Act No. 11211, otherwise known as the New Central Bank Act, ay malaya nang nakakapag-issue ang BSP ng kanyang negotiable debt securities for regular monetary operations. And to summarize all this, the issuance of BSP securities ay binigyan tayo ng panibagong monetary tool for liquidity management under the interest rate corridor system, which is yung na-discuss ni ma'am doon sa previous lesson natin. And again, ang securities na ini-issue ng BSP ay both bills and bonds. And initially, kapag BSP bills ay ino-offer siya in view of the prevailing market preference for short tenors. Yet again, ang tenors ay yung maturity. Kadalasan para sa bills ay hanggang 28 days lang ang maturity and ang bonds ay may longer maturities. So in general, depende sa market preferences at liquidity conditions kung ano ang tenor ng BSP securities. Kaya naman ang BSP ay nakikipag-coordinate sa Bureau of the Treasury o ang BTR para hindi mag-overlap yung tenor ng BSP securities sa tenor ng BTR-issued government securities. And another thing is that ang pag-i-issue ng BSP securities ay through auction, kung saan i-offer ito sa mga counterparties ng BSP in the term deposit facility. Specifically, ito yung mga universal and commercial banks, thrift banks, and non-banks with quasi-banking function. So, most of the time, ang BSP ay pinipre-announce nila ang schedule ng auction to facilitate planning by market participants. At yung tenor volume naman ay depende siya sa liquidity forecast at market conditions. And sa next slide, I have indicated a table featuring the key features of the BSP securities para mas maunawaan natin kung paano nga ba siya nag-work. So, meron tayo dito. First is the type of securities. Ito nga yung BSP bills and BSP bonds. Yung tenors, which is 28-day bills para sa bills, and no limit on tenor, conditional on market preference and liquidity conditions. And yung auction size is determined based on liquidity forecast din siya. And yung frequency of auction is weekly or as necessary depending on market demand and conditions, as well as latest liquidity forecasts. And yung day of the auction is usually Friday siya ginaganap. And yung settlement and issuance is T plus 2 business days for primary issuance and T plus 1 business day for secondary market transaction. And yung mga eligible counterparties and eligible funds and for placement ay only for banks, which are the universal bank and commercial banks, thrift banks, and non-banks with quasi-banking that can participate in the auction, while banks and trust entities can participate in the secondary market trading. So, yung sell down to banks, retails, and institutional clients is not allowed, and funds from non-resident sources are not allowed to place in BSP securities. Tapos, yung auction format naman is multiple price or English para sa BSP bills and uniform price or Dutch for BSP bonds. So, yun yung original issuance. And yung discretion on allocation, yes, with bid acceptance and bid rejection regions. And yung anti-cornering rules, yes, each bidder can only bid up to 20% of total offer size. And yung buyback operations, yes then. So, the BSP may call for early redemption of issued securities and this will be done via auction. And yung eligibility as collateral is not acceptable as collateral in the BSP's overnight lending facility or yung OLF and other BSP liquidity facilities. So, for eligibility for regulatory compliance, BSP securities are considered high-quality liquid assets or HQLA for the computation of liquidity coverage ratio or the LCR, net stable funding ratio, NSFR, and minimum liquidity ratio or the MLR. So, therefore, in conclusion, ang issuance ng BSP securities ay pinalalakas niya yung transmission ng ating monetary policy. And ginagawa ito ng BSP para ma-fulfill yung commitment nila to promote and maintain price stability na kung saan ay magbe-benefit ay tayong mga Pilipino. And that's all for my presentation. Thank you for listening. We can now proceed to the next presenter.
I am Catherine Aga and ang i-discuss ko naman ay ang term deposit facility. So, para maliwanagan tayo, i-define muna natin yung term deposit. So, from the word itself, it means that yung dineposit mo, for example, sa bangko, merong term wherein hindi mo pwedeng galawin yung pera na dineposit mo hanggat hindi natatapos yung term na yun. Like, hindi ka pwedeng mag-withdraw or mag-deposit. And then, pag natapos na yung term, doon ka palang babayaran ng full amount ni bank, which is principal plus interest. And doon ka lang pwede mag-deposit and mag-withdraw. However, kapag naman dineposit mo na yung pera mo, nang hindi pa natatapos yung term, magkakaroon ka ng penalty. So, ganun yung concept ng term deposit facility. Hindi siya tulad ng mga bank accounts na ina-allow tayo na mag-withdraw or mag-deposit anytime we want. And then, yung term deposit, babayaran ka ng bank ng specific interest within the term. So, kung bumaba yung interest rate, then that's good for you kasi hindi na maaapektuhan yung dineposit mo since naka-safe keep na siya sa bangko. However, kapag naman tumaas yung interest rate, syempre that's not good for you kasi hindi ka magbe-benefit kahit na tumaas yung interest rate. So, yung term deposit facility, it is a liquidity absorption facility that is commonly used by the central banks for liquidity management. So, itong TDF, in-establish siya ng central bank for liquidity management. So, based sa pagkakaintindi namin, and gaya nga ng sabi ni ma'am, kapag maraming pera ang nagsisirculate sa country, naaapektuhan yung economy natin and tumataas yung inflation. So, ang ginagawa ng central bank ay ina-allow niya yung mga institutions na i-deposit yung pera sa kanya and through this, mababawasan somehow yung pera na nagsisirculate dahil task nga ni BSP na protektahan yung purchasing power ng mga consumers by keeping the price stable. Also, under Republic Act No. 7653, the TDF is used to withdraw a large part of the structural liquidity from the financial system to bring market rates closer to the BSP policy rate, which is related din ito sa contractionary. Shown are the features of the term deposit facility. So, yung frequency operations ay once a week and nangyayari ito every Wednesday. Nag-offer din ang Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas ng 3 tenors of TDF and these are 7 days, 14 days, and 28 days. So, initially, ang ina-offer lang talaga ni BSP ay 7-day and 28-day tenor. Pero, in-offer na ni BSP yung 14-day tenor noong February 14, 2018 because of the strong interest of counterparties. And then, yung auction type na ginagamit ay variable rate tenor and multiple price auction. When we say variable rate tenor, yung mga counterparties, pwede silang mag-submit ng up to 10 bids with different interest rate level. Meaning, ilalagay nila yung desired amount of money and kung magkano ba yung interest rate na gusto nila. However, yung multiple price auction naman, kung sino yung pinakamataas or pinaka-successful na bidder, siya yung makakakuha. And then, ang pricing ay based on bids. And auction size is determined by the liquidity forecast. And then, announcement of auction size is indicative calendar release quarterly. Meaning, hindi definite or merong sudden changes sa schedule. While auction offer release 2 business days ahead. The submission of bids can be done between 9:30 to 10 a.m. And the eligible counterparties are the banks and the non-banks with quasi-banking functions. And the minimum bid amount is 10 million. Yung maximum bid amount naman ay 20% of auction size per tenor and yung maximum number of bids ay 2 bid amounts per tenor at different rates. Pretermination is not allowed for 7-day TDF, allowed for 14-day and 28-day TDFs after suitable holding period at the appropriate pretermination rate. And the announcement of results settlements is within the day. So that's all for the term deposit facility. We hope that you are now enlightened on why the BSP or the central bank use these short-term monetary operations. Thank you po for listening.
Good day everyone, I am Myra Villasentino and now we will talk about the standing liquidity facilities. Standing liquidity facilities. The BSP offers standing liquidity, lending and deposit windows that help counterparties adjust their liquidity positions at the end of the day. These standing overnight facilities are available on demand to qualified counterparties during BSP business hours. The two standing facilities that form the upper and lower bound of the corridor are set at plus and minus 50 basis points around the target policy rate. And itong standing liquidity facilities ay isa sa mga short-term monetary policy tools na ginagamit ng BSP para ma-manage nila ng maayos yung liquidity sa financial system. And itong standing liquidity facilities ay in-offer ni BSP sa mga counterparties niya sa dalawang dahilan. Una is para mag-provide ng liquidity at pangalawa is para naman mag-absorb ng liquidity. And itong standing liquidity facilities ay meron siyang dalawang windows or yung instrument which is yung standing overnight deposit facility and yung overnight lending facility. And unahin na natin yung overnight deposit facility. The standing overnight deposit facility will absorb any residual system liquidity to prevent market interest rates. For the overnight deposit facility is the RRP rate minus 50 basic points or 0.50 percentage point. The interest rate for the overnight deposit facility serves as a floor for the overnight interbank rate, and the interbank rate is the rate of interest charged on short-term loans. So dito sa overnight deposit facility, yung BSP is inaalaw niya or pinapayagan niya yung mga financial institutions kagaya ng mga banks or mga businesses na i-deposit yung mga sobra-sobrang funds nila sa BSP. And next naman is yung standing lending facility. The Standing Overnight Lending Facility provides collateralized overnight funding to BSP counterparties to clear end-of-day imbalances. Interest rate for the overnight lending facility is the RRP rate plus 50 basic points or 0.50 percentage point. And the interest rate for the overnight lending facility serves as a ceiling for the overnight interbank rate. Kung kanina sa standing overnight deposit facility, inaabsorb niya yung liquidity sa mga financial institution. Ngayon, dito naman sa overnight lending facility, kabaliktaran naman dito kasi yung facility naman is sila yung nagpo-provide ng liquidity or nagdadagdag naman tayo ngayon ng perang nagfo-flow sa mga counterparties kagaya ng financial institution like banks or mga businesses. And itong overnight lending facility is ina-offer nila dahil gusto nila magpautang and nag-offer sila ng loan overnight para ma-fund yung mga imbalances nila. And when an organization lacks liquidity or short-term solvency, it is unable to meet its short-term obligations, which is may effect ito sa credit rating and credibility. And a company's short-term lenders and creditors are truly interested in knowing the company's liquidity because both lack of sufficient liquidity and yung mga sobra-sobrang liquidity is hindi maganda para sa isang organization.
Good day everyone, my name is Diana Rose Valencia and now I will be discussing the rediscounting. Okay, first let's define what is rediscounting. Rediscounting is a standing credit facility provided by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or by the BSP to help banks meet temporary liquidity needs by refinancing the loans they extend to their clients. BSP also makes possible to deliver credit to all productive sectors of the economy. Moreover, ang rediscounting ay isa sa mga monetary tools ng BSP to regulate yung level ng liquidity in the financial system. It allows banks or financial institutions na manghiram ng money sa BSP using eligible papers tulad ng promissory notes and other loan papers ng kanilang mga clients as collateral. Yung BSP's rediscount facilities ay mayroong dalawang categories, which are peso rediscount facility and exporters dollar, at yung yen rediscount facility, which are administered by the DLC or yung Department of Loans and Credit. Ang tanong, bakit nga ba mahalaga ang rediscounting sa ating bansa? Okay, it is simply because isa rin itong instrument to manage the inflation sa ating bansa at naitutulong nitong patatagin ang financial system ng ating bansa. How does the rediscounting cycle go? A bank extends loans to end-user borrowers who execute credit instruments, for example po yung promissory notes or PNs, drafts or bills of exchange or BX in favor of the bank. The bank rediscounts the credit instruments of its end-user borrowers by endorsing the same in favor of the BSP. The BSP, in turn, lends the bank an amount equivalent to a certain percentage of the face amount or outstanding balance of the end-user borrower's credit instrument. Yung isang bank ay nagbibigay ng pautang or nagpapautang rather sa mga qualified end-user borrowers using credit instrument tulad ng promissory notes na nasabi ko kanina. The bank may also use the proceeds ng BSP loan for new loans to other borrowers or to address yung liquidity needs nito. In effect, nakakatulong ang rediscounting cycle to sustain yung bank's fund for relending to its borrowers and at times service withdrawals. Okay, let's proceed dun sa role of rediscounting in our monetary system. Nakasaad sa Section 81 of the Republic Act number 7653 as amended by Republic Act number 11-21-1 o mas kilala bilang the New Central Bank Act na ang discounts, loans at advances which the BSP is authorized to extend to banking institutions ay dapat or shall be used to influence yung volume of credit consistent with the objectives of price stability and maintenance of financial stability nito. BSP shall limit the loans it extends sa mga bangko during the periods of inflation. Sabi ko nga kanina na ang rediscounting ay isang tool to manage the inflation dito sa ating bansa. How? Let me answer this. Imagine if inaasahang tumaas ang inflation sa bansa, paniguradong itataas rin ng BSP ang rediscount rate. May chance na ma-discourage yung mga bangko na humiram ng money sa BSP. At sa pagkakataong yon, magiging limitado na yung pagbibigay ng loan or magiging limitado yung money na maipapahiram ng mga bangko sa kanilang mga clients or do sa qualified end user borrowers. Tandaan natin na ang pagkakaroon ng mas mababang demand ay makakapagpababa din ng inflation sa ating bansa. We also have here the 3 types of credit operations to banking ng BSP. First, normal credit operations. Next is yung special credit operations. And last, yung emergency credit operations. Let's focus dun sa normal credit operations or for example, the BSP rediscounting facility through the electronic rediscounting system or yung tinatawag na ERS. Ito yung internet-based rediscounting facility that the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or the BSP makes available to all active and qualified banks nationwide. Inaalaw ng facility na ito ang mga banks to conduct their rediscounting transactions and inquiries sa BSP in an online or near real-time basis at the convenience of their own bank premises. With its simplified and end-to-end processing capability, yung system na ito ay nagpo-provide ng immediate availability at fast delivery of credit sa mga bangko, especially those in the countryside. Ang kagandahan naman nito ay nire-reduce nga yung transaction cost ng mga bangko which will mutually benefit both parties or yung participating banks at yung mga client nila. As a matter of policy ng BSP, the LOLR or the lender of last resort principle shall apply to all 3 credit operations. The BSP makes full use of credit operations authorized under its charter whenever there is a need to expand money supply in our monetary system. In conclusion, ginagamit ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP ang kanilang rediscount facility bilang instrument to influence the volume of credit sa ating financial system at magsisilbing short-term safety valve para sa banking system kapag bumaba ang demand ng aggregate supply for reserves or kapag nagkaroon ng unexpected shortage of reserve or funding ng mga banking institutions para doon sa temporary liquidity needs nila. That's all. Thank you for listening and let's proceed naman po sa next topic which is yung overdraft credit line.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Julina O. Abella and I'm going to discuss overdraft credit line. So let's start. Overdraft credit line is available to banks participating directly in the clearing operations of the Philippine Clearing House Corporation to cover shortfalls in the bank's demand and deposits with the BSP. So, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas created a policy measure providing solution para sa mga overdraft credit line and BSP convert it into emergency loans for troubled banks. Nabasa ko din that OCL or overdraft credit line is also
to help other banks. Solvent banks, ito yung part ng business where balance sheet and cash flow is being assessed. Tinutulungan nila yung banks with liquidity problem. Doon sila pinapayagang mag-emergency loan ni BSP para ma-solve yung current problem ng isang nangangailangan na bank. How BSP uses overdraft credit line. BSP uses this OCL to participate on clearing operations to minimize the amount of transaction given a day. As been said, BSP uses this overdraft credit line to participate on clearing operations. Clearing operations, ito yung clearing process of settling transactions between banks. For example, milyong transaction ang nangyayari kada araw. So, OCL, bank clearing operations, tries to minimize the amount of transaction given a day. So, overdraft credit line is not only for troubled banks, but also for minimizing the amount of transactions.
Hello everyone, I am Jenny May F. Banag, and now we are here at the last topic, which is the emergency loan. So now let's start. Emergency loans. Emergency loans are financial assistance to banking institutions to serve as temporary remedial measures to help solvent banks overcome their liquidity problems arising from causes beyond their control. Meaning, ito yung pangangailangan ng isang banking institution ng karagdagang pera. And basically, ang nagiging takbuhan ng isang banking institution ay ang central bank. Kapag sila nga ay nagkaroon ng problema or kakulangan sa pera, central bank ang takbuhan nila. At ang BSP ay nag-o-offer ng emergency loan hindi para sa mga individual person, but it is for the banking institution like BDO, BPI, and etc. Pero hindi lahat ng mga nagsasubmit ng application for an emergency loan ay naaaprubahan because emergency loan is governed by the provisions of Section 84 to 88 of RA number 7653, otherwise known as the New Central Bank Act, and according to it, no emergency loan or advance may be granted except on a fully secured basis, and the Monetary Board may prescribe additional conditions. Ibig sabihin, dapat masiguro ng bangko na meron itong kakayahang magbayad at secured bago maaprubahan ng application ng isang banking institution. Next, when an emergency loan or advance may be availed of. Kailan nga ba makakapag-loan or emergency loan ang mga banking institution? So we have here the first one. In periods of national and or local emergency or of imminent financial panic which directly threaten a monetary and banking stability. And the example for these are bank runs, bank holidays, or when the international stability of the peso is threatened. So, bank runs, ito yung kapag ang mga customers or large number of customers ng isang banking institution ay nagwi-withdraw para ilipat sa ibang banking institution ng mga perang winidraw nila. Dahil feeling nila magiging insolvent na yung banking institution na pinaglagyan nila ng pera, kaya hahanap sila ng ibang banking institution at dahil doon nawawalan ng malaking pera ang mga bangko. Another example is bank holidays. So alam naman natin kapag magpapasko na or New Year, ganyan, maraming tao yung nangangailangan ng pera, pambili ng mga handa or mga decorations and para sa mga inaanak. So, dahil doon, yung mga taong may pera sa bangko is i-withdraw nila yung mga pera nila. At dahil nga holiday season, yung mga tao is sabay-sabay yan na magwi-withdraw. Ibig sabihin, kapag maraming magwi-withdraw, mas maraming pera ang kinakailangan ng bangko. And last example for this is when the international stability of the peso is threatened. Second one, we have here the during normal periods. It is for the purpose of assisting a bank in a precarious financial condition or under serious financial pressures. What about by unforeseen event? Ito yung mga event na hindi natin maiiwasan o inaasahan, tulad ng mga national disasters na pagbaha at pagbagyo. And another example is war. So, next example is events which, though foreseeable, cannot be prevented by the bank concerned. Now, dito na tayo sa allowable amount o kung magkano yung allowed na makuha ng isang bangko in case of a emergency loan or advance loan. First, it should be limited to the amount needed by the applicant bank. Second, it should not exceed 50% of its total deposit and deposit substitutes, and provided that any emergency loan should be collateralized. Ang halimbawa dito ay kapag ang isang banking institution ay nangangailangan ng 5 million. So, ang kayang ibigay lang sa kanya ng central bank is hanggang 2.5 million lang. At kung magkano lang ang kailangang hiramin ay dapat yun lang ang makukuha niya at hindi dapat lumampas ng 50% ng bank total deposits and deposit substitutes. So ngayon, paano ba nila malalaman kung magkano ba ang total deposit at deposit substitute ng isang banking institution? So dito na ngayon papasok ang application procedure. Katulad nung sinabi ko kanina na hindi lahat ng nag-a-apply for an emergency loan is natatanggap dahil need muna nilang dumaan for an application procedures. Dito yung paraan kung saan nagpapasa or nagsasubmit sila ng maraming documents. Example for documents na need mong ipasa is EL or L form number 1. Kailangan mong magpasa ng mga documents and forms para malaman ng central bank kung dapat ka bang bigyan ng emergency loan. So that ends our group report and thank you for listening.